Georgia Tech football is the best team in the state of Georgia. I mean, that's still obviously up for debate. The University of Georgia he is here in town, and as of this recording, at 3:50 on a Saturday, post game of the Georgia Tech game, Georgia facing off against Ole Miss. But at the current moment, the only undefeated team in the state of Georgia is Georgia Tech, and for that reason, you can really pitch them as maybe being the best team in the state. It's really setting up for an incredible game at the end of the year versus Georgia inside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Yellow Jackets 27-18, huge winners over Duke. I'm Reggie Chatman. This is the Reggie Chatman Show, and I'm very excited to take you through this game as a quick post-game reaction after this massive, massive win. For those who don't know me, I cover Georgia Tech, I cover Georgia, I cover the Falcons. I work for NBC's 11 Alive here in town. I've been covering these teams for the last 4 years. This is year 5, and it's never looked like this for Georgia Tech. It's a brand new year, and this team is doing everything in their power to make a long run. Heisman Trophy contender, Haynes King, another big day. And Georgia Tech, a massive win on the road over Duke in a game where a lot of people said they couldn't get it done on the road, and maybe for good reason. Their previous games on the road looked pretty bad. But the good news is it felt like the switch kind of flipped in the same ways that Georgia Tech looked bad against other teams on the road, turning over the football, making bad mistakes, but having the ability to make up for it and win the game. Duke wasn't able to do that. They were the team that turned over the ball multiple times this game, especially in bad spots. They made major mistakes down the stretch. Georgia Tech took advantage, and a team that continues to run the ball, continues to pound, and continues to work and never gives up. This team ended up getting out of there with an 8-point win on the road at Duke. What an incredible win. So make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. On this channel, we're going to be trying to do podcasts almost daily, breaking down the major storylines in and around the city of Atlanta. Georgia Tech, a big reaction coming right now after this major win. And they absolutely deserve it, man. I mean, what an incredible performance. I mean, it's almost classic Georgia Tech, right? Like I mentioned, earlier in the year, a lot of Tech's problems were the fact they were turning over the ball in bad times, right? In this game, it was all about Duke doing that thing, right? Georgia Tech moves to 7-0 on the year for the first time since 1966, thanks to some Duke issues and some Duke problems. Let's go through this game, right? The offense for Georgia Tech did not look good early. Their first drive, 8 plays, 28 yards. Ended up having to punt, and then from there it was all about the Duke offense, right? That Duke offense actually looked really good. Speedy. They get to the ball and get to the line quickly. They move the ball well. Darian Mensah, top 10 in a lot of categories for quarterbacks, not only in the ACC but in the entire country. The tackling didn't look very good for Georgia Tech early. The screen game, the hurry up, all of them problems. It really felt like to me while I was watching this game, the defense just couldn't figure out what was going on. They always got to the line and were trying to get guys in the right position. They just got the ball in space to a lot of their playmakers, Duke did. But in the end, that drive ended up ending because the ball was put on the ground. The running back ended up fumbling. Darian Mensah ended up fumbling is what they're going to give the credit to here as I look at the stats. They were trying to run the read option. He probably read it wrong, thought he tried to give it to the running back. Ball hits the ground. Omar Daniels picks it up, takes it all the way back for a touchdown. And just like that, after a drive where it looked like Duke was going to be able to move the ball at will and maybe try and run away with this game after Georgia Tech didn't look very good offensively to start the game, Tech takes a 7-0 lead, and you're feeling good, right? So then Duke gets the ball back. I mean, you had a couple of good plays defensively for the defense. Mari Harvey was obviously hurt. Toby got hurt as well. A couple of fourth down conversions for Duke as they go 13 plays, 50 yards. They get all the way into the red zone. And here come the Yellow Jackets. An incredible fourth down stop. Or excuse me, I guess you can call it a fourth down stop. They forced them into going in a fourth down. They try to kick a field goal, Duke does. The hold gets botched, and just like that, Georgia Tech comes up with a huge stop. And so just to put it in perspective, after the first quarter and after the first 3 drives of the game, the first one was Georgia Tech. The second 2 were both Duke drives. Duke had the ball for 24 plays. They had gone for, 92 plus 50, 142 yards, and it had over 11 minutes of possession after the first 3 drives, and just like that, Georgia Tech has a 7-0 lead. And you're feeling good if you're Georgia Tech. I mean, you have to, because it looked like Duke had everything figured out. They were moving the ball well. Duke Tech didn't really, and especially because the offense didn't really look really good either. 3 plays, 3 yards. They ended up punting on the next thing. But here's where the Georgia Tech defense started to kind of come through. Forced Duke on a punt their next drive. Had a sack on a 3-man rush to force the punt, which you feel good about. Georgia Tech then gets the ball back. That offense still kind of struggling. Malachi Hosley has really been really good for this team. He really found a seam after this last game against Virginia Tech. They gave him the ball a whole lot in this game. It felt like I was hearing his name said a whole lot in the game. He ended up finishing 11 carries for 23 yards and a touchdown, a long of 10. More carries than Jamal Haynes, but Jamal Haynes had 29 rushes. And, of course, Haynes King, 14 carries, 120 yards, also passed for 205. But... and that's all good and ready when you're seeing it after a win, right? So they go down, punt, and then the next Duke drive, they get the ball back with 4 minutes and 21 seconds left in the second quarter. They go 80 yards and 11 plays. I'll tell you, I was really impressed with their quarterback. Darian Mensah is a good player, man. And I thought it was an interesting note. They paid him a 2-year deal, $4 million a year. And I was like, wow, that feels like a lot of money to spend on a quarterback at Duke. That kid can play, man. Broke out of a sack on that drive to keep the drive going. They had the bobbled play where the tight end bobbled it up. He tracked it and ended up bringing it down. Mensah ended up scoring his 16th touchdown of the year. He's a good player, man. Found Landon King in the back of the end zone for a 20-yard touchdown. The game is tied. It would end up going tied into the half. So in a game where it really felt like Duke should have been winning that game at the half, maybe they should have been at least up 10-0. It's tied at 7 going into the break, which is the perfect situation for Georgia Tech. Tied at 7 at the half. Now, Duke did get the ball back to start the second half. Another long drive, 15 plays for 50 yards, 8 minutes and 43 seconds. I mean, it felt like Georgia Tech was almost never on the field. Duke just couldn't take advantage. This was a huge drive, right? They go all the way down the field. They had it 1st and goal from where does it say here? 1st and goal from the Georgia Tech 1. 1st and goal from the Georgia Tech 1 in a tie game. No gain. Anderson Castle, no gain. Castle, no gain. And just like that, it's 4th and goal from the 1. By the way, a huge shout out to Jordan Vanderberg for coming up big, I think, on all 3 of those different defensive plays. Leads to a field goal because Duke had an illegal substitution. They had 12 men on the field. That's their 3rd time in this game where they should have come up with big points. So big shout out to the Georgia Tech defense, and also that mistake of having 12 men on the field and an opportunity to potentially score and go up 14-7. If you score there, you feel great. They kick the field goal. They go up 10-7. Georgia Tech responds with a 8-play, 63-yard drive. They end up scoring. If I'm being honest, it looked like it should have been a touchdown right there. They had the potential touchdown throw from Haynes King to Bailey Stockton, who was in the back of the end zone. They went to Stockton for the last 2 plays on that drive in the red zone, or I guess right outside the end zone. And Stockton couldn't bring it in. It looked like he had possession of the catch until he got to around the ground because the DB pulled him down. And I know the guy in the replay center said that it looks like they probably should have maybe changed the call and gave him a touchdown. I don't know. I feel like you have to give the DB an opportunity to make a play. I understand that Stockton had the ball in the back of the end zone. You got to give an opportunity for the DB to make a play. He tries to bring him down, bring him to the ground. The ball comes out. And just like that, Georgia Tech settles for 3. You're tied at 10. You end up going into the 4th quarter tied at 10 after Duke goes 5 plays, 21 yards in about 2 minutes. So we go to the 4th quarter, tied at 10 after a Duke punt. Georgia Tech has the football. They go 12 plays, 89 yards in 4 minutes and 35 seconds to take the lead on a field goal, which is huge. I'll tell you, it's a couple of great throws from Haynes King on this drive. Had a 0 blitz where he hit a quick slant to convert. And just to put in perspective of what it looked like offensively for Georgia Tech today, it took them to the 5:55 mark in the fourth quarter to get to 100 yards rushing on the day. This is a team that is one of the better rushing teams in the country. It took them the 5:55 mark to get to the 100-yard mark. They averaged 238 yards a game on the ground coming into this one. Took until then. How about that? So at that point, after they go up 13-10, that's when they score that touchdown. That's Malachi Hosley on that drive. And it really, I guess maybe it's just the Duke mentality, or maybe what the Duke atmosphere looks like. You could hear the Georgia Tech band. I'm sitting in my house, and I feel like I could hear the band playing the entire time, which I thought was fun because I'm sitting there doing the Georgia Tech chants and stuff because I hear them every time I go to the game. So good on the Georgia Tech band for being loud and proud, and this team going out and taking a 20-10 win, or 20-10 lead on that point. Malachi Hosley scoring right there on a 9-play, 72-yard drive. Duke gets the ball back. They go 8 plays, 46 yards, and 205, and it's a missed field goal. A missed field goal. And this was a good drive, I'll tell you, from Mensa. Holding calls ended up doing them in on this drive. They had 2nd and 20. Mensa made a great throw to try and pick up the first down and keep the drive, and keep the clock moving. They had a big drop from their tight end. And they also had a huge play from Tajay Butler, who dropped into coverage and tipped it away to force a field goal. The field goal was missed, and so that kept a 10-point lead for Georgia Tech. And then from there, it was all about Tech from there. Haynes King, the rushing touchdown, his 10th of the season. It was another fake pitch, the classic Georgia Tech play where he looks to his right and fake tosses to somebody and runs for a touchdown. It looked like Haynes was trying to decide if he wanted to kneel out or slide before the goal line to try and run out the clock, but I don't blame him, man. If you're going to do that, go ahead and score. Get in the back of the end zone, baby. Haynes King, you're trying to win a Heisman. Winning's cool. And I know winning's cool, and if it was up to him, I'm sure he would have been like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have scored there. I should have, run out the clock. XYZ, winning is the most important thing. But at the end of the day, man, like I told you guys in last week's episode, Georgia Tech's going to be a top 12, they're going to be a top 10 team after this week after that Miami loss. They have an opportunity to make Haynes King a potential Heisman player. I don't know if he'll win it. Like I said, I don't know if he's got enough big games left on the schedule. If they beat Georgia, maybe. But an opportunity here to add some more stats, because for the people that are not watching these games, it's going to be all about the stats for him. I think he's going to have to go up against a team like Vanderbilt if they continue to score. Diego Pavia hit the Heisman pose after beating LSU today. Let's not worry about that. Let's not worry about that. Not really about them today. But like I said, massive win for Georgia Tech, 27-18. The final, they moved to 7-0, 4-0 in the ACC, and if I'm being honest, it looks like they are the leaders in the clubhouse in the ACC. As we look at the standings, Georgia Tech 4-0 in conference, then they're ahead of Virginia, who is 3-0 in conference and 5-1. Georgia Tech is the last undefeated team in the ACC. They're one of 3 teams that are undefeated in conference, and they've got the most wins out of that group, just defeating Duke, who is one of the other undefeated teams in conference. So now move to 4-0 in conference ahead of Virginia and SMU. And if you look at their schedule, homecoming they have on the 25th, which is next week at home, a noon kickoff against Syracuse. They head on the road then to NC State, Boston College before hosting Pitt, and then that crazy UGA game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium at the end of the year. So if you look at it, they're set up very nicely to have a special end of the season if they can kind of pull this off, right? If you look at Syracuse, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bottom 5 in the conference. They are 3-3 on the year, 1-2 in conference. NC State, a couple of spots ahead of them, as they're ahead of Virginia Tech, a team that Georgia Tech beat last week. Then of course Boston College is at the end. They are winless in conference, 1-6. Pitt is a little bit higher. They're right in the middle, 2-1 in conference. And, of course, Georgia is facing off against Ole Miss, an opportunity for them to try and bolster their opportunity to try and get at the SEC championship game. So, yeah, overall, man, I think a huge win for Georgia Tech, a massive opportunity for them. It just feels special. Like I told you guys, it's just a team of destiny. It feels like everything is going right for this team. All the opportunities are ahead of them to do something special this year. That fumble return, the late offensive push. And if you look at the stats here, it's a classic Haynes King experience where, you know, he's just going to keep running you down. His stats, he went, as I pull this up here, He went 14 for 21 for 205, ran for 120 yards on 14 carries, and led this team to a massive win out on the road. So, big shout out to Georgia Tech. Obviously, they have some stuff they're going to have to try and figure out here. Maybe offensively, that Duke defense was better than I thought it would be. But, the thing that plagued them in the past was all the issues that they used to be having where it would be self-inflicted wounds. None of that today. And just like I said, coming into the game week, if they could try and limit some of those issues that they were causing on themselves, they had an opportunity to be really, really effective and potentially win this game. And they did. So, big performance from Georgia Tech. Massive winners. So congratulations to them. And we will see what they do when they come to homecoming next week, noon, at Bobby Dodd Stadium here in Atlanta, Georgia. All right, that'll do it for today's quick post-game reaction after the Georgia Tech win over Duke. I will see you guys a little bit later. I will be watching the Georgia versus Ole Miss game, and I have a reaction from right here in our studio in Midtown Atlanta. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe for more videos like this. We're going to be pushing out as much content as possible. You guys can follow me online at Reggie Chatman on Twitter and Instagram, and on TikTok at Reggie Chatman TV. I kind of got on TikTok too late, so I couldn't get my entire name on there. Had to add TV. But my point is, thank you guys so much for watching the Reggie Chatman Show. Really excited to be able to bring these episodes throughout the rest of the college football season and beyond. And you guys have a fantastic Saturday. I know I'm magically off today. I'm not normally off on Saturdays. That's why I'm able to do this podcast in the middle of the day, at least from my studio. You guys have a great day. I'll see you guys a little bit later tonight. Let's do it.